Hello, our wonderful rock stars, our wonderful community, our wonderful friends, our wonderful family, our wonderful frequency lovers, our wonderful everything. Just welcome to this call. It is exactly 8:05, uh, exactly May 22. It's our testimonial call that was actually a call that was converted from the fireside chat until Anna told me it would be better testimonial. Okay, let's do testimonial. But it is better. It's actually like it's a combination of everything that happened all week. On Monday, we started the call with a wonderful practitioners call, like wonderful. Then on Tuesday, we had a wonderful call again from Kwame on mindset. On Wednesday, we had another killer call with the fast track to 1 million with JR and two special speakers. I think we had, yes, we had Coach Jenna and Pete. Then on Thursday, we had another awesome call with Anna hosting with two other speakers, which was Malik, who invited Angel Rose and Kelly Brahman. And who's the other one? Oh, yes, Matthew, the Jacuzzi Man. The Jacuzzi Man was there. And here we are today, where we take all that synergy, all that energy, all that love, all that frequency, and we accumulate it into a nice happening, which is our Friday call. I mean, yes, this can be a call that you want to invite guests to. I don't care. I mean, hey, it's testimonial. So if you want to use this call to invite people, why not? They'll hear firsthand, like instead of inviting them just to a presentation, just send them a video, right? Here they can actually hear real stories. So Friday, if you want to invite people as guests, yes, I think that's a nice call to do it too. All right. Well, my name's Luigi. Thank you for being here. Today I have Anna. Hi, Anna. I have Malik. Hi, Malik.
Frequency of air.
And I have Ethan, all the way from Brazil in person, who's been somebody that I've been working with for even before I started, since I started OlyLife. Because when I started OlyLife, I didn't have too much knowledge on nutrition, on health. That's not my forte. We all have our strength. And you know what great leadership is, my dear friends? Great leadership is a combination of being able to surround yourself with the right people. That's how you succeed. Just like Ford, who sold cars. Yeah, Ford, but it wasn't because of Ford. It was because of the people that he had in his mastermind. And that's all great stories start with a mastermind. So me, I associated with some key people. Anna's one of them, my business partner, and so is Malik. But I also associated myself with other specialists like Ethan Lead, who is I'll let him share what he is exactly, how many years, but he's been my go-to guy since day one on everything I wanted to know for these products. What can we use them for or not? Now, today, I'm going to let him share his magic of why he's excited about these products. And me and Malik and Anna and me, if we want, when he finishes his sentence and we want to ask a question about certain thing that he can add on to, we'll do that too for 30 minutes. And after the next 30 minutes or 20 minutes, because we only have 20 minutes left after, we will let anybody share their stories about products, about success, about being grateful, anything that makes you happy. Hello, Ethan. How are you today?
Hey, I am great. Thanks for inviting me on, Luigi. And it's nice to catch up again with Anna and Malik. Haven't seen them in the visually for a while. I spoke with Anna last week. So this is one of my very favorite topics. So before we have testimonials, one of the things that I find people often are a bit shocked by is the variety of testimonials. And they're like, hang on a minute, it's done this, it's done that. How can it do all these different things? And so before we get to testimonials, I like to explain a little bit about what is going on, what these frequencies can do, why they work on so many things. They actually only work on a handful of things, but those handful of things are life-changing, game-changing for your health. So let's get into that a little bit. So everyone is familiar with frequencies harming us, right? There's a lot of talk about 5G and EMFs and all these other harmful frequencies, and that's probably, if anything, underplayed. That's not like fear mongering. That is a real problem. Like, these frequencies are very, very damaging, or at least potentially very, very damaging, depending on which frequencies, how much exposure, and so on. So that is all true, but we have to not just focus on the negative side of frequencies, because as bad as frequencies can be, as harmful as they can be, they can also be the opposite, which is healing. And so what we're talking about is healing frequencies. Now, the time you need healing frequencies more than ever is when you have damaging frequencies, when you're being hit by the 5Gs and all the other frequencies that we hear about that are harmful. So, how many of us are being affected by negative frequencies? And I think in the modern world, that's all of us pretty much, right? We're all being hit. If you live in the US, Canada, um, Australia, even Norway, I saw someone was on Norway, wherever, all these countries.
Uh,
Yeah, go on.
Somebody said in the chat you didn't introduce yourself. A little something about yourself first.
Oh, right. Who am I? Okay, fair enough. I
That's
get
why
carried away.
I raised my finger not to cut you off, eh? So
Yeah, that was great. Thanks for that, Luigi. Okay, so my name is Ethan Leeds. I'm a holistic practitioner. I've been in this space over 35 years. Originally, I trained in kinesiology and then neurolinguistic programming, then nutrition. Oh, you're looking good, Luigi.
thank you.
Then crazy t-shirt, but we'll forgive you. Um, then frequency. I've been involved in this brand of frequency, this combination, which I'm going to go into since its beginning, okay, which has been around about 6, 7 years now. This particular type of frequency, and then OlyLife since its beginning. In fact, I was probably the first person working with OlyLife in the West. Okay, so I've seen amazing results through the years in all sorts of things. Don't want to get too much into medical stuff, so I'm gonna be very cautious of that because there's laws and so on and so on. But I do want to explain what it's doing at a fundamental grassroots level in your body, as it were, and why we're seeing so many results. We've still got loads of people coming in. That's cool. Okay, so. Why and what do these frequencies do? What are the frequencies? So we've got a whole bunch of devices. I'm not going to go into all the different devices because I've only got a relatively short time. I think 30 minutes. So we'll see how we go. But I'm going to get through as much as I can in that time. So the two primary frequencies that we're talking about are, the better known one is PEMF. And then the other one is terahertz. Those are the two primary frequencies. Some of the devices, like for example the P90 Plus, have other frequencies as well as those two. So there are some other frequencies, but time is restricted. So I'm going to focus on the two prime frequencies, terahertz and PMF. Now, I'd be interested in the chat if you guys think that PMF is best, put that. If you think terahertz is best, put that. What do you think is the best, most powerful healing frequency? I'd love to see what people think on that. So I am watching the chat as we go. But anyway, so we have these two frequencies. Now, when we began, PMF is the first person, okay? So when we began, good answer, Quan, the combo. Yeah, but that's true. The combo is the best. But if you had to pick one, PMF or terahertz, which one are you going with? If you're just picking one, you're only allowed one. PMF, okay. PMF. Most people are saying PMF. PMF. Okay, this is what I expected. Okay, so everyone is saying PMF so far. So, oh, someone said terahertz. So now, okay. So I'm in the situation where when I began with this technology, there was only one frequency and it was terahertz. So now we're doing two frequencies, which is better, of course. Now we're doing two frequencies, but I'm able to judge on just terahertz and just PMF. I've used both individually. So. Let me just, a lot of people are saying PMF, and the reason that they're saying PMF in all probability is we have a lot more information on PMFs. PMF has been very well studied. It's used even in some hospitals to speed up healing from surgery and bone fractures and different things. There's a lot of information known about PMF. Terahertz, from a scientific point of view, it's much earlier in the studies. There's very little information out there, so we don't know as much. As a result, we talk, or it is talked about much more PMF, much more information out there. However, in the field, for practitioners like myself that are using both and have used terahertz on its own and PMF on its own and the combination. So we've got experience of what we're seeing in the field. I can tell you that terahertz is as good as PMF. PMF's not better. I don't know that terahertz is better. They're both unbelievably awesome. I've seen some amazing results in minutes with terahertz that you just wouldn't believe. Sometimes when I have longer, I show videos of people that have been damaged, where they can barely not function, they can barely walk, and where they use terahertz on its own. This is before we had the combination, and rapidly have shocking results that turn their life around. So I say this, and sometimes, as I say, I show videos when I have time, because we really need to understand that terahertz is at least as good as PMF, maybe better, arguably. So although I'm not going to spend much time talking about the differences, you need to understand terahertz is world class on its own. Now, a lot of you already know that PMF is fantastic. So PMF also is fantastic and proven so, not just by what practitioners like myself see in the field, but we've got the studies to back that up. So a lot of the time in natural health, we don't yet have studies for many things. Many times they don't do the studies for various reasons. But it's important to understand terahertz is phenomenal on its own. We know PMF is phenomenal. It's proven. The combination, a few people said the combination, and of course the combination beats either one of them on their own for obvious reasons. When you've got the two working together and they work beautifully together, then that is the most powerful. So when it comes to OlyLife products, their initial wand was only terahertz at the beginning. Now we have all the devices are combinations of the two, typically, just about all of the devices. So Okay, so what is happening when you get and you sit on a P90 or a P90 Plus, or you use the wand or the Shaken, the Galaxy, all these different devices? Maybe, Luigi, if you've got some pictures, you can throw them up just so people have a clue what they look like for those people that maybe haven't experienced them. I've got devices all around me. If Luigi doesn't have pictures, it looks like he's going to do that. Okay, so what happens when you get, there you go, Malik is showing the Galaxy there. That's the eye one. Fantastic for eye health. One of the things that it does brilliantly is it improves the microcirculation. A lot of eye issues are created through poor microcirculation to the eyes, so we get a lack of delivery. Okay, so that's the P90 right there. So you sit and you put your feet on that, and it's a direct connection, and you get the PMF and terahertz going up through your feet. Okay, so there's a range of devices, mostly focused around, as I say, those two. Oh, so that's the OlyLife Plus. That has two extra devices. It's also the P90 part is more powerful. So that uses not just PMF and terahertz, but it uses a number of other frequencies, including infrared, and so on. So I don't want to get too bogged down into individual devices, but I did want you to see them. So that's some of the key devices that you see right there. And if you're watching it on playback, you can sit and read all the information that it shows there. Okay, so that's the Galaxy. And that OlyLife Smart Bama Air product, that puts out negative ions into the air. It removes dust particles and what have you. It does a bunch of other stuff, lights, and plays music and all sorts of other stuff. Okay, so let's get back to the main point. So what are these frequencies actually doing in your body? So I'm going to go into a little bit of detail on what it does to the blood. But before I get to the blood, the frequencies themselves, frequencies can harm or they can heal. So the frequencies being used here are two different sets of frequencies that are known to help to balance and heal the body. So what's the mechanism for that? How does it help? So you need to understand, first off, that you've got a bunch of systems in your body that all contribute in some way, and the most important system in your body for healing is your blood. And the reason it's the most important system is because the blood is the system that your body uses to feed everything that every cell in your body needs. So you are trillions of cells. And if your cells are healthy, then that means you are healthy. And if your cells are not healthy, then you're not going to be healthy. And the more cells that are not healthy, the less and less healthy you're going to be. So much like a battery, when all the cells of the battery are working, let's say a rechargeable battery, when all the cells are working, your battery's at its optimum. As the cells start to die, the battery becomes less and less effective. It holds the charge for less time and so on. So if you think of yourself as a human battery, your cells are what drive you, are what do all the functions necessary for your health, and they are all completely dependent upon your blood's ability to deliver everything it needs. So, what does it need? What are some of the things that the blood delivers? Well, the most important single thing, number one, is it delivers oxygen. Okay, that's so important that if your blood's unable to do that for some reason, let's imagine, God forbid, that somebody severs a main artery and they start to bleed profusely. I don't know. I don't know if he's not going to show a picture. Okay, he's not showing a picture of that. He's getting ready for something else. Okay, so we'll come to that, Luigi. We don't need that right this minute. But if you were to bleed out, then within minutes you could be dead. Why? Because you don't have sufficient blood left in your body to carry oxygen to the places it needs to carry oxygen, which is every cell, but you don't have enough. So you can see that when the blood is compromised severely, as in not having enough blood, you die in minutes, rapidly. So most people don't have anything that serious happen, but what they do have is a reduction in the blood's ability that's more subtle. And so slowly they get less healthy. Let's take a diabetic as an example. So diabetics, very often, they will get, let's say, a simple little wound on their foot. They step on a nail or something. And for a normal person, that wouldn't be a big problem. You'd clean it and bandage it up. And within a few weeks, typically, it's gonna get better on its own without you thinking about it. You don't have to have positive thoughts or whatever. It just heals. There's nothing you have to do much other than keep it clean. But if you're diabetic, that wound might not heal. In fact, it might get worse. In many cases, it's the beginning of the end of a diabetic. So what can often happen is that the wound doesn't heal. It ends up getting infected, and then sometimes it gets so bad that they end up cutting the foot and then the leg off that diabetic, and they can die. My father, that's what killed him. Okay, so I have personal family experience of that happening and being the death of my father. And so it can happen to anyone who's diabetic, but what's the mechanism? The mechanism is poor circulation. It begins through the, I'm not going to explain all the details of how it happens, but it ends up with poor circulation to the feet. Now, that can also happen to the eyes, which is why diabetics are among the people that have the highest incidence. Well, they have the highest incidence of blindness. So what's that caused by? Not by the diabetes directly. The diabetes creates circulation problems, so you end up with microcirculation problems, and that results in many problems. It could be cataracts and glaucoma and all different stuff, but ends up in blindness. So that is a circulation problem. Okay, so what we want, if we want to remain healthy, is good circulation because it provides the oxygen I've already mentioned, but it also provides hormones. Hormones are really important. It provides immune cells. Equally really important. If your immunity is not working, then you're going to be in trouble. And it's your blood where that immunity is and where it takes the immune cells to wherever it's needed. That's your blood. Okay, so even water, so many things that your blood is carrying to every cell. So if your circulation is compromised, then your health will be compromised. And you don't need to be diabetic to have circulation problems. There are many reasons for having circulation problems, and one of the big ones is a deficiency that very few people ever think of. Usually, when you talk about efficiency, a deficiency, people are thinking in terms of minerals or vitamins or fats, amino acids, and so on, or maybe even water. We talk about dehydration. I'm not talking about a deficiency of any of the things that most people think about. I'm talking about a deficiency in voltage, electricity, because we are electrical beings. And you'll find out that in certain situations, you'll get someone with a heart issue rushed into hospital, and it's a big mess and they're in big trouble. And sometimes you'll see they'll pull out the defibrillator, which is basically a huge electrical charge, and they'll bang that on their chest to pump them with a massive amount of electricity to try and rejig it and restart it all. If they're looking at your brain, often what they're looking at is electrical impulses in your brain or your heart or wherever else they're looking. So we are electrical beings before we are chemical, even more important than chemical. The chemical reactions and all that are dependent upon the electrical infrastructure of your body. And it's possible, just like your cell phone, for your charge to go down on your, as I say, when you look at yourself as a human battery. And the prime reason for that, there's multiple reasons, but the prime reason for that is that your blood cells lose charge. The charge is what keeps the blood cells separate. Okay, like two magnets, when you push them together and they push apart, that's a similar thing. So the red blood cells are pushed apart by the energy, the voltage that they contain. When that energy drops, that push gets less and less and less until they start to stick together. Once they're sticking together, you have a problem. So I want to show you, or Luigi in just a second is going to show you the video he just was bringing up a minute ago. So I want you to see the result of red blood cells with low charge, and then what happens. So we're going to be looking at the blood of somebody that's in this group of people. They might even be on, I'm not sure, that we're going to be looking at their blood, and then after this is their blood. So let's have a look at it. So is this on video or is this a still? If it's a still, that's fine. It's a video. All right, so let's play the video a second then. Okay. So this is Katrina Murray's live blood analysis under a very high-powered microscope, and you can see that the red blood cells are in kind of strings. Okay, they shouldn't be like that. They shouldn't look like worms. They should be separated. And as you can imagine, when they're clumped together like that, they're not able to get into the small capillaries that might be behind the eyes and many other places. The microcirculation is where most of the work of the blood is done. Okay, so that blood is a mess.
Wow.
And this is 20 minutes after a session. And again, notice it says PMF. It's not a PMF session, it's PMF terahertz session. It's the combination. Okay. So what you just saw was the blood, the effect of the P90 plus actually, the P90 plus on the blood. So what it did there was it charged the blood, which enabled the red blood cell to separate and freely flow as they are supposed to. Now, if you can then understand the blood in the second slide is much more able to carry oxygen, to carry nutrients, to carry hormones, to carry immune cells, water, etc. Everything it can now carry. So hopefully you can understand how that's going to affect the health of your cells. Okay, so if your cells, imagine your cells getting all the oxygen it needs, all the nutrients it needs, etc., versus it's not. The one getting it is going to be much healthier, stronger, and able to function properly. Okay, so when you're not getting it, then your cells start to have problems. And if your cells are in your eyes, you might go blind, or you might have some other issues going on in your eyes. If it's in your feet, as in a diabetic, you might be able to not heal your feet. Wherever it is, and it can be anywhere, then you start to run into problems. Now, if your cells do not have enough oxygen for long enough, Dr. Otto Warburg showed that when your cells get 30% less oxygen than required, they should die. That's what should happen. But we are so wonderfully made that your cells don't die. They switch methods of making energy because the oxygen is what's required to burn fuel. The fuel is, you probably all know, but for speed's sake, I'm going to tell you, it's fat and sugar. Okay, so your cells burn fat and sugar to make energy, and they use oxygen to do that. But if they get 30% less oxygen, they can't make enough energy to survive. So what happens is they switch methods of making energy, which is just amazing, because if you or I have our oxygen cut down, and we don't get enough, we have nothing we can do. We just faint, and then if it carries on, we die. Okay, but our cells don't. They switch from what's called aerobic respiration to anaerobic respiration, which is to say they stop using oxygen to make energy and they start making energy using a process that we normally refer to as fermentation. So they start to ferment the sugar instead of burning the sugar. Okay, so when a cell does that, because it doesn't have enough oxygen and it changes methods of making energy, we call that cell, anybody know what we call that cell? One word. I'm looking in the chat to see if anybody knows. If nobody does it quick enough, I will say yes, Scott. C. We call that cell a C cell or cancer cell. That's what we call it. Okay, so a cancer cell is simply a cell, a normal cell that cannot survive in the environment that it's in because there's not enough oxygen. And so it switches to fermentation, and that's now a cancer cell. That's why you will see in many natural protocols, you're going to see for the big C, you're going to see things like hyperbaric chambers, ozone therapy, hydrogen peroxide, nebulizers, and so on. All of them are designed to increase oxygen. Well, guess what the P90 does? Or the P90 Plus, any of the devices really, but the P90 Plus is the king of it. What it's going to do, it's going to increase the oxygen. How is it going to increase the oxygen? You've just seen the how, because it's going to help the blood to work properly by separating it, allowing the blood to do its job properly. It's not doing anything magic. It's simply providing the voltage that we should have naturally, but we're being deregulated by all these negative frequencies and toxins and a bunch of other things which are disrupting our ability of our blood to function properly. So if you can improve your blood's ability to carry oxygen on its own, that is a game changer, and you wouldn't be needing the hyperbaric chamber and all the other things, although they're all cool things to do, but they're very temporary. You have to go to a clinic to do these things. We're bringing the clinic into the home, so you can do this every day, twice a day, 3 times a day if you need to, for practically nothing. I'm a big fan of the hyperbaric and ozone and all of those, but they're just very expensive and not practical. But they're great. I'm not saying don't use them. They're fantastic. So improving the oxygen levels in your body is a massive, huge deal. So that's one thing that the P90 and other products will do. Okay, so does all that make sense so far? Does everybody got that on board with that? You understand that? And you see how you can do this over and over again every day if you've got one of these devices at home without the need to go to a clinic. Okay? So, the yes, Luigi.
I just want to know one question. Did Scott ChatGPT that question when you asked him about the cell? Because nobody knew in the room. I just want to know, Scott, did you ChatGPT that question or you actually do that? I think you actually do
What
it.
did he say?
I don't know. I'm asking him.
I'm thinking
I love you, Scott. I had to pull his leg a little bit there. It's all good. Okay, I'm going away. Take it away.
All right. Well, that was right over my head. I have no idea what that was about. I'm sure it was hilarious, but anyway, so that's the oxygen. But then don't forget, okay, it's also carrying nutrients. The lack of nutrients is another big deal in everybody's health. And so I get people all the time telling me, I'm eating so good, everything's organic, I'm eating, the best meat and the best fruit and veggies and da 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 da, and I'm still, I don't know if I'm not absorbing it properly or what's going on, but I'm not healthy. Well, if your voltage is down, you can be eating the perfect diet, but you're not going to be getting those nutrients because your blood's not doing its job properly, okay, because of the voltage problem. So every single person who is sick has low voltage, every single one, okay? Every single healthy person has correct voltage. I sometimes say high voltage but it's correct voltage, which is high compared to the sick people. So high voltage. Okay. So voltage, so important. It's one of the reasons that many people are aware about grounding. Grounding is a gentle way of doing this. We should all be doing a lot more grounding. Of course, it's not so important if you've got a P90, but grounding is a great thing to do, which is to get your feet on the earth, especially damp earth, super, super healthy, much, much less powerful than a P90, but completely free and really lovely to do. Get your feet out on the earth, on the grass, or I go in the, I live right on the beach, so I go in the ocean and just walk there, even better because the water helps with the conductivity, especially high mineral water. But okay, so oxygen, number one. Number two is the carrying of nutrients. Okay, super, super important, all achieved by the blood's now working properly. The next thing everybody should know, right, that your immune system is ultimately the thing that's going to fix you if you've got any kind of disease. It's your immune system. Well, guess what? Your immune system can't work if it's not being carried where it needs to go. Okay, so now you fix your blood, now your immune system can get to the places it needs to get to. So hopefully you can begin to see the importance of the blood. It's the system that basically feeds, empowers every other part of your body. Okay, that's why, okay, I'm getting into conspiracy tin foil hat bit now, but that's why a lot of the attack